pushing buttons, and there we are. 40 minutes, the timer is running. Welcome to enterprise integration and how we bury it today, because that was the initial plan. We wanted to talk about enterprise integration and how dead it really is in these challenging times when it comes to AI and large language models. As a matter of fact, let's start with the basics. So who am I and why should I talk about enterprise integration? So I did look it up. So almost 10 years ago, I was talking in Denmark at an event about how Camel can now finally work with an enterprise application server. So I've been playing around with all kinds of technologies in the Java ecosystem, and I was bored from time to time and wrote a couple of books. So you're more than invited to follow me on one of the socials, or even go to developers.redhat.com and download a couple of these books for free. The latest one is only in early release now, so you will be able to get the full release probably in November-ish. Why am I here? Because I need to walk you through the first 10 minutes. After that, the show is going to be taken over by my dear friend and colleague, Bruno. He did ask me to introduce him because he's a little bit nervous that the insanely amazing demo that we prepared for you today is actually working, so I'll leave him at the corner. Bruno is responsible for creating content that is not only flashy and showy and demo-worthy, but also reproducible. And we've been working on our GitHub repository earlier today, so you guys can walk out the door here and we will make sure you can actually try this out yourself, including all the demos that we're showing today. And Bruno is also on LinkedIn, so if you want to follow him, please do so. And he's obviously our camel god. Like, I think you haven't done a lot.
Just a 10% of,
10%.
Of godness.
Perfect. So what led us to giving this talk, or even proposing this talk? Enterprise integration is what I call the most boring topic on planet Earth. It is something that every reasonably sized enterprise project has to take care for. It is just not an option. You will run into some kind of integration, migration, data shoveling activities if you are running a reasonably sized project. Modern platforms, if you look at them, they all promise this is going to be frictionless because we now have AI. So it's going to be solved by just clicking and having like visual composers and doing all the magic without even doing any kind of coding or workflows or integration. So we've been asking ourselves, is that really true? And how much can an LLM or artificial intelligence in general actually do today for us? The conclusion as a first step, it's not dead. It will be there. It is today, it will be tomorrow. There will always be some requirements that force us to shovel stuff from left to right in a reproducible, transactional manner. This is not even a question. We will have the need to connect different services in a reasonable way. We will also continue to be forced to translate between models. We need to make sure that we have the same version of a customer sitting in an SAP system or in an enterprise system that we implement for a certain specific business requirement. And we will also be forced to implement something like workflows across these boundaries to control the complete process. The challenges basically also persist. All this is something that needs to be rigid across system boundaries. It cannot break in between. We need to guarantee transactions. We also will continue to implement a certain amount of boilerplate. There are certain transitions between systems that will require the same transformation, the same orchestration approach. We will continue to have complexity. My favorite business use case always has been the car manufacturing industry, because I'm a German and we happen to have a couple of automotive OEMs in Germany. And knowing what I know, they have a ton of old systems. and they have developed a very stable and robust process of putting these cars into production from paper. And all this starts somewhere in the basement in a very well hidden place with a very well crafted data format. And guess what? Not all of this is SAP and standard. This is a couple of years old and it has not been changed. So as a direct result of a certain heterogeneity across these environments, we will also continue to see challenges around hard to debug workflows. Maybe in certain cases, in particularly of automotive OEMs, you will be forced to open a door that is sealed shut because nobody knows how to operate that mainframe anymore. So it is going to be interesting. How can AI actually help us to make this better? This is the biggest question. The real answer is integration isn't dead, but it also evolved over time. It actually changed some of the tasks that need to be achieved during an enterprise integration project. We're trying to get away from static workflows into something that gives us a little bit more flexibility and interpretability. And maybe these static workflows are designed by not only humans, but by systems that actually know how to reason. Like, what is the best way to get a customer from system A to system B? Or what is the best way to actually revise an invoice? And which system should I call? Which tools do I have at my disposal? And maybe, if we're really lucky, integration logic ultimately is no longer hard-coded, but can be flexible and adopt over time, even with changing business requirements. So looking at this, we're looking at structured tasks, we're looking at tools that provide certain capabilities to LLMs. We're also looking at something agentic. And we all know that agent is a very broad definition in this case. It is all very early when we're looking at how fast, especially this specific topic of our industry evolves. We're also looking at a lot less boilerplate, ultimately, if we let these halfway decently interpreting engines create the workflows for us. So you're not replacing integration, ultimately. The goal of these modern systems will be to just duct tape a little bit less, making sure something else is responsible for all these integration logic. Do I still have a slide left? Yes, why Apache Camel? Well, who's using Apache Camel? That is a surprising number of hands. Like, it is not the most anticipated and modern technology. It is a workhorse. It is integrated pretty much everywhere where you need to convert some kind of data from left to right. Because it's easy, it allows you to define workflows. It is rock solid. Some people call it negatively connotated legacy, but it is just working, right? It can connect anything to anything. Like literally, if there is a system, no matter how small, it can most likely connect to it because there is a connector in the community. And it's a toolbox. So it's not a product, it's not something that you just install and watch magic happening. You define what's going on, and that is very important. And it's also composable, easily composable. It has a ton of great APIs, including an amazing Java API that is very fluent and lets you just do your job as a developer instead of like thinking about integration logic. And obviously it also runs anywhere, like literally. So that is kind of setting the stage for the demo that we created. And the only idea I had when we went into this demo was I said to Bruno, make it a boring demo. And you guys judge if I was successful or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. By the way, if you think I need to accelerate, you tell me. So there's a ton packed here. So let's go ahead and see if everything works right. All right, so we start with the demo scenario. And here we are going to be placing purchase orders, or rather ingesting them. You'll see how we do that in various ways. Then it's going to be all about the relationship between clients and agents. They are going to have some interactions, but we are not going to dedicate time to that. It's going to be rather what actions does the agent needs to do and how it is going to be assisted by AI. And regarding AI, then I want you to see some of the things that are going to be cool, but then we are going to hit some obstacles and challenges. And therefore, we want to control a little bit that. We want to control the level of autonomy these bots have. Not only that, but then at a certain point, we also want to introduce workflows that are going to drive this AI. So you'll see what I mean by that, but just this heads up. Quickly mention the developer tools I've used to create this demo, namely Camel JBang mainly, which is a CLI to create camel routes very rapidly and to start, stop instances. You prototype very fast, you iterate very fast. And then also Kauto, which is an integration designer in VS Code, which is visual and leverages Camel JBang as well. I'll show a little bit, but not too much because I want to drive more the story. Then just simply say where things are running, right? So we have a remote environment running on Kubernetes, and we have a bunch of systems there that I will go through later on. But then locally, I want to run, well, Apache Camel, and it has a component that leverages LangChain4j, which is giving us like the connectivity to and the way we interact with LLMs. Also, I'm going to be running them locally. Now, these are very small LLMs. We are not using the ones online because the idea, well, first of all, they run faster here, but also we want to deploy them in our environment in a controlled manner, right? So keep that in mind that these are tiny and not that as powerful as the others. And then I want to apply some code changes so it makes sense. I'm running these locally and then the other systems remotely. Right, so it's a 4-part demo. The first one is the ingestion process, just to get initiated. And what I thought would be good to do is to use a very, very old data format, which is EDI purchase orders. So this is the, I think, electronic data interchange. This dates from the 70s. But I thought it was nice to see how with Apache Camel we can mix the old and the new powerful AI and revolutionary AI, right? So we are going to be ingesting this very ugly data format into purchase orders. We leverage a project that is called Daffodil. We have some visual elements there that are going to allow us to generate these invoices. We also are going to be ingesting directly the invoices, and with a technology that is called Docklin, that is a very advanced and capable to identify artifacts into the invoices, whether these are diagrams and graphics and tables and such. And it gives us various data formats. The one that is convenient for us is JSON, because that gives us easy access to the data that we need to manipulate. And well, all in all, we have these 2 data formats that come into our AI-powered system with Docklin. And then we are going to connect to a vector database that is going to come handy to do some vector searches, S3 storage to store our stuff, and then some traditional databases to do some inserts and queries and so on. Right, with that, let's start on. And the first thing I wanted to show you is, well, this is Kauto in VS Code. So this is a visual tool that allows us to create Camel instances. It's very easy here to add task. You can click here and choose a component, for example, MQP, and you can configure it, you delete it, and so on. But basically, this is an S3 bucket consumer that is going to pick up our EDI messages and then kick off this process. And the process is the one below here is going to marshal and marshal with Daffodil. But eventually, we have this visual data mapper that I want to show to you. So here we have the ugly, those ugly fields from EDI. And then we map them to something that is more readable with the seller information of the invoice and the client information. And I wanted to do something fun. So normally what you do is you drag and drop here from left to right. But I want to change this a little bit. So I'm going to actually hardcode, and I'm going to put myself as the seller, and my colleague Markus as the client. Because earlier Markus came to me, he wasn't very happy, and he had something to say, right? So Eisele, sorry, is that correct? Eisele. Very good. So we have done some little changes on the code. And with that, what I want to do is then initiate everything. So I have this sort of S3 bucket explorer. Let me get just a sip of water. Where I want to drop the EDI, right? So I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to choose my thingy, and I drop it there. If I open it, we'll see this ugly format that nobody understands, but actually we have a product from the invoice and everything is here. Now, if I refresh, nothing is happening here because I haven't started my processes yet, right? So let's do that very quickly. Right, so I need to make sure that my tunnel is on, and I have a little script here to say agents up. Now, this little script is actually using Camel JBang behind the scenes to kick off all the processes, right? So we have all in all 6 pieces in the demo. I run them all at the same time so that I don't have to come back to this. Yeah, one by one, we see that there's an agent that is being started. By the way, I'm using here the network. Hope that goes all well. All right, so we have the 6 pieces, and once everything starts, we should have a quick status. And crucially here, we see the X12 ingestion. That's the one that we are interested in. And OK, so we have a status. We have the 6 one running. So if we come back here and I do refresh, this should be gone, correct? And it should, at some point, generate an invoice. All right, so this is the invoice that we were talking about earlier. And if we zoom in, then we should see that effectively I'm there sitting as the seller. And we have Markus here as the client. We have various products related to wine. So we see wine glasses with units and stuff, and a total amount of $212. OK. So this is good, but actually it has done more than just producing this invoice, right? It has provisioned our systems. So let's quickly have a look to our systems. And so this is a vector database where it should have taken the products, as you can see here, and produced this vector. This will allow us later on to actually do things with it. Let's have a quick look. We see the big vector here. OK. So it has provisioned this. It has also provision probably customers. So this is the database that we have on that remote environment. So if I do a quick select here, I don't know if I have the, let me just do select star from customers. We should see that we have a Markus in there, right? So it has provisioned the systems, as you have seen. And OK, so all of these works. This is great. Now, I'd like to enter to the second phase of the demo. This was just the provisioning part. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is drop in a lot more of invoices. I have like 1,000, but I'm going to just get a subset because it takes time to provision. Because we want to do things with it later on, right? So I'm going to get this bunch, and I'm going to drop them there. These relate to products like electronics, furniture, books, and all sorts of things, right? So, all right, so while that goes on, and theoretically Camel is ingesting this, and we can validate that very quickly if we run customers, yeah, OK, so we see that it got the second, and OK, it's going to get a little while. So let's proceed with the rest of the demo, and we enter part 2, right? So in part 2, we want to see an agent that has some autonomous behavior. And, well, this is what it's going to look like. This is the sort of bot that the administrator, in this case, this will be the agent that has been talking to the customer. And he's going to use the agent, of course, backed up by our systems here that is fully connected behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and do this. And the first thing that we want to do is that, let me see, so I can open here that chat here. OK, very good. And, oh, actually, I forgot to get the invoice number. Let me see. So this was the invoice, 91. And of course, Markus was complaining that he had the wrong thing there, that we overcharged him, right? So as an agent, I just want to get the invoice and validate what Markus is telling me, just to make sure that I understand what his problem is. And so if I issue this, the agent behind the scenes is going to go ahead and try to find this. And we see that we find our invoice, so the one that we saw earlier. And in here, we see the invoice ID, but if we look closer, Markus is telling us that here, he bought only 4 wine glasses and units, boxes, or whatever it is, not 5. So okay, so we agree that effectively that was a mistake. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, please fix invoice 91. Item 1 should show 4 units, not 5. All right, so I'm going to launch that. And basically, the agent is going to look at this, and I'm using that series of models. I think I forgot to mention these are the Quen family. And basically, here we are using the most expensive one, which is the one that is, because here it needs to actually analyze a little bit this invoice. It needs to look at it, needs to know what to do, correct it, and then, of course, we want to regenerate that. So this is going to take a little bit. We should see, I have a terminal behind the scenes here where, sorry, not that. But this is the agent in action, okay? So we're not going to look in detail, but it came back to us, and it says the issue with invoice has been corrected. Right, this is well and good, but we'd like to verify that, right? So let's say get invoice. I'd like to see that with my own eyes. Get me invoice 91 and see if effectively, it has done what I wanted it to do. Right, and the first thing we see here is actually it has tagged this invoice as amended. And if we look closely, then we see that now we have 4 units of wine glasses and not 5. So that's great. And also it has recalculated the invoice, effectively, correcting this. So this is a great first step, but I don't know if this pleases Markus, because actually, he relied on us to do a good job and we failed. And so basically, I'd like to compensate him, right? So, so actually, I forgot to tell you, but I have a table here very quickly. Let me show you. I have a promotions table where I have provision. Promotions, a series of things that I can give to customers if they are unhappy, or vouchers related to wine, loyalty, 2-for-1 for books, and so on. Right, so my idea is, as an agent, those promotions might change from day to day. So I say, get me the promotions that are available. And these, will go and fetch, as you can see, the codes of those programs and a little description of it. Now, I want to take this chance to explain to some, because if you are AI savvy or you have done things with AI, you know how this works behind the scenes with tools and stuff. But I want to take just 1 minute to explain how this works, right? So these are tools that we define processes in Camel. And it works a little bit like this. So we see our agent. It has a pack of processes there, but there are some special ones, so these ones that we call tools. And Camel knows how to offer these to the LLM. And these are available for the LLM to go and invoke, right, in order to trigger actions or get information. So basically, the admin would interact with the bot. The bot would hand over that request that will go to the LLM. There would be some thinking time there for the LLM, because it might know the answer already, but it needs to decide what to do at that point. And maybe it needs to call a tool to actually get something, think again if it has all the information that it wants, or perhaps do other calls. And this could happen in sequence or in parallel. It needs to do all these things, and eventually it will compose a final answer that is going to hand over to Camel, and then, of course, to the agent. Right, so that's exactly what's going on here, right? So that you get a full understanding of what's going on. Right, so at this point, what I'd like to do is, since we have here a wine-related product promotion, and these products are clearly related to wine, Markus should be happy with a promotion of these, right? So apply promotion 100 to invoice 91. So I'm going to send this, and the agent should do the work. And it will come back to us and says, okay, it has been granted that invoice, that promotion. Let's check that is true, right? So select from awards. And we see that effectively promotion 100 has been given to Markus, which has this ID and of quantity 1. All right, so that's great. Not only we have done this, but actually I didn't mention there's a little embedded communication agent in the system that is going to go and actually communicate to Markus, is going to compose a notification via email. You see that we have his email here. And we contact Markus and says, oh, sorry, Markus, let us announce to you that you have awarded a promotion. It's one voucher worth of wine-related products. And now this is synthetically created by the LLM, right? And right, so this goes to Markus, and hopefully now he's a little bit less angry with us. Right, now there's one thing I want to validate here is that we have ingested all the invoices, and I think we did, right? So these are all the invoices we have there. Because this comes now the moment where, in reality, as an agent, okay, I've awarded Markus, the promotion, but I feel generous. I'd like to find other customers that are interested in wine. So I'm going to say, get me customers interested in wine. And this is when the vector search comes handy, because it's going to look into the vector database, and it's going to give us invoices with customers in it interested in wine. Now we have other products as well, right? Electronics, remember, furniture, and other things. But it has selected the ones with wine. We see Markus in there. So what we are going to do is we are going to pick up these other guys, and we are going to say, please apply promotion to invoices. Now, when we mean invoices here, of course, we mean the customers in those invoices. And the LLM understands that, so it's going to go and fetch these invoices, find who these guys are, and then, more or less do the same job as before, but here 4 times repeatedly, right, in a sequence or in parallel or whatever it decides to do. So let's just wait a second and see if it comes back to us and says, OK, they have been successfully applied. Let's verify that very quickly here. So awards. And yes, we see all the other ones that have been awarded. Right. So up until now is a sort of the happy scenario, right? So this is very cool. But this is the moment where I want to show you where we hit limits, right? So it occurred to me that rather than these simple issued commands, what happens if you pack all this information at once and you give it to the LLM? And that's exactly what I want to show to you and see what happens. So I have this whole sentence, right, that is more or less exactly the same as what we've done, but all at once. And so, well, this is for another invoice, a different invoice, but essentially it's the same. It's also related to wine, except that here we say that we want to fix the tax rate that has been applied. Pardon me. And, well, now the LLM needs to go ahead and see if it's able to resolve this. There's an interesting here relationship between these commands, because you need to fetch first the information in order to know what to do next. So this is a good test to get and see what happens. So let's just wait a second. We should see. If we look here behind the scenes, then we see the LLM here, the agent interacting with the LLM, and, well, he's going ahead and doing things. Well, and it came back to us. And this is the summary. So we see it is telling us that it has fixed the invoice. It has obtained the promo codes. But then it says there was an error awarding the promotion, so things started to go wrong. And then it says the affected invoice are these ones. And it doesn't seem to go anywhere, right? So I think we are hitting trouble here. And there's a screen here I didn't show to you, but actually I've been recording all of these interactions on this dashboard. And we are getting, with this we can actually trace the diagram of the execution itself and the tools that have been invoked. So for example, if we get the first one, well, this one doesn't work, but let's get another one. For example, get me the promotions available, right? So the prompt is get me the promotions that are available, right? And in this case, it's giving all of that. Now, the interesting one is the last one. That is the complex one. So let's have a look and hope that, yeah, it's there. OK. So let me zoom in. And we see in detail what the LLM has done, right? It has called this tool to amend the invoice. It has passed the right parameter, and this was the message. Please correct from 10 to 5. Done, right? The following thing, it has obtained the promo codes, all good. Then it has tried to apply a promotion code to the invoice. That's correct. But actually, you see that there's a status error. It appears that the promo code is incorrect, is a non-existent one, and the system is complaining, right? So then it went and tried to obtain the customers interested in wine. It got a list, but you see that the execution ends there. So the LLM didn't really complete this, as you can see, right? So, this was something I wanted to highlight. So the next part, this leads way to the next part, is when, okay, we need to apply some level of control on this AI. We need to control its autonomy, right? And this is what leads way to the third part of the demo, where we introduce a new piece that we call the planning agent. Now, this is the current architecture that we have been using so far. What we want to do is just take that, put it on the side, and then put a new piece there that is going to be the planner. And the administrator or the agent is going to talk directly to this planner instead of the agent as we were doing up until now. Now, the planner is going to be in charge, and he's going to actually analyze that prompt, and he's going to decompose it into simpler instructions, because we see that those work well with the agent. So let's see how that works, right? I'm going to come here, and instead of talking to this one, we have something very, very similar, but is the planner agent, and we are going to copy exactly the same prompt, so that you see, even though it is the same invoice, well, the execution should be illustrative enough. So I'm going to execute this, and well, here it goes. So the first thing it's going to do is analyze this and decompose it, as explained earlier. And actually, I should have the logs here of the planner. And this is the LLM here that has been invoked, and it should come up with a plan. And we see that it has, returned a collection of steps. A total number of, it seems, 5 steps, and you see that the instructions are like the simple ones, right? So please fix the tax rate on the invoice. Then please get me the active promotions, right? So it's driving the agent into doing all those things, and we see the agent on the right working, right? So it's his worker. Okay, so it's doing all of that, right? And theoretically, we'll finish. You see that one of the tasks is award the promotion, get me a list of invoices for purchases for wine products, and so on, all right? So let's wait just a little bit patiently here. We should get a response in not too long. Normally it takes like a minute. It's a little bit slower because, of course, we did the pre-plan, but then it should come back to us with an answer, hopefully. So let's see if that comes back early enough. Let's wait. It's there waiting and working. We see the steps there. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we have a summary of those 5 steps, right? And by the way, I want to actually move this to the right because eventually we will get the diagram of that execution coming in a while, and we want to look at that. But we have a summary of each one of those steps. So it says that it has amended the invoice, it got the promo codes, it has used 100 because it's the one related to wine, it has applied that, it obtained all the customers interested in wine, and then it says that all customers have been successfully awarded the promotion. So it seems like it's done the right things, right? But, well, this could be a hallucination, right? And it could be wrong. So I really want to see that. And we have the entry just coming on, right? So I'm going to show that here, and I'm going to zoom in. Now, remember, we have intercepted all the interactions between the two, right? So we know that this is the real thing. And, well, first of all, we see that we have 5 items, 5 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, corresponding to the different steps of the planner. And the first one, it has amended the invoice. It says done. Second one, it has obtained all the promo codes. It has applied 100 to the invoice in question. Then it has found all the customers interested in wine. And then in two groups of calls in parallel, it has apply the promotion to all the other customers. Note there's only 4 executions here because he knows that the other one was awarded earlier, right? So that completes the 5 of them. And if, and therefore, well, this has done exactly what we were hoping for. So I consider this successful execution. Very good. So we close that. And right, so at this point, I think we are ready to enter the last phase of the demo, because up until now, all of this was really nice, but the problem, of course, is that it was always human-driven, right? And well, we have seen plenty of demos with the chats and stuff, but in reality, what we would like to do is to mechanize this a little bit. So introduce workflows that instead of being human-driven are going to be mechanized, and we want to define processes that are event-driven. Right? So let's see how that works. OK, so let's go ahead. This is the last architecture we were working with, the planner, the agent. What we do is we want to keep those two. They are going to work together, and they are going to be sort of our workers. Okay? And then what we want to define is an event-driven AI process, and this is it, more or less. Again, powered by LLMs and integration. And we are going to have different feeds that come in with, I don't know, live support audio feeds, or the recording of those sessions, or perhaps just the transcript that they are sitting somewhere in storage, or other communication channels like email. Right? So those are going to come in. In our case, in our demo, I'm going to drop in a transcript, and then this guy is going to analyze the content of that, then come up with a proposal, right? A proposal that could be executed by our workers. Now, we still want to have some level of control here. That's why in the middle, there's some blank space where we want to put the human in the loop. He's going to have a dashboard, and we want to make sure that it's not random, and what comes in, actually, the proposal is good enough, and it is validated. So if something comes in, then our piece here is going to drop an entry on the dashboard. The administrator can then inspect that, look if it needs to modify that, perhaps, or reject it because it's not good, or whatever it is. But eventually, it might just accept it, and then that is going to then be handed over to our bots, right, our agents. And they are going to work in collaboration just like you have seen earlier. So let's go ahead and do this, try to replicate this. So I have here another, so this is the admin dashboard, right, where we want to see the entries. And what we are going to do then is we are going to come in here, and we have a folder called transcripts where we have a Camel process that is going to be consuming items from here. So I'm going to drop in one of those transcripts. Let me do that. I select this one, and I'm going to open it very quickly. And you see that, well, this is not something I've written. This is something, again, that was synthetically created, generated by an LLM, but simulates the conversation between a customer and an agent and says, hey, there is something wrong here. This is not right. OK, could you please provide me with the invoice ID? Yes, this is it. At some point, we are waiting here for the event on the left. OK, so it says, OK, can you give me more details? What is incorrect? Well, specifically, this item shouldn't be there, right? I believe it's a book. And oh, thanks for that. We'll look and see what we can do. Right, and we got the entry, and we see that this is the invoice ID. We have a summary of that problem that has been drafted by the LLM, and this is the proposal, right, of that plan. So, so the first thing I want to do, of course, is just inspect. That it makes sense that I want to inspect what's on that invoice. So let me just do that. Sorry, very quickly here, and so we are going to say, get me invoice 87. And let's have a quick look to it. And we see that, effectively, it has 3 items on it, right? So 3 books. And we see that the one in particular that the customer is complaining about is this one, Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. OK, so let's assume that, OK, so this is right. The complaint of the customer is correct. I'm going to approve it, right? So this is going to kick off that process that we did earlier, right, ourselves directly. But, well, all we wanted was to revise something here. So it's drafting, the execution plan and everything, but I want to take this chance to highlight that it actually wants to award a books promotion, right? This is interesting because how does he know that he wants to apply books? That's because that first Camel instance that analyzes actually executed this instruction, and he spoke to the agent to ask, please tell me what types of products are on this invoice. And the system came back and said, well, this is all about books, right? And therefore, that's why he decided to actually come and offer a promotion related to books on this pre-plan, right, on this proposal. Now let's see if things, okay, so we got a response and we have the summary of that. So this is something that the planner has gave us according to his execution plan. Not necessarily has to match to the proposal, but this is it. Basically, it says that it has, fixed the invoice and it has awarded, the books promotion. Let's validate, first of all, let's validate that this is true. If we get the invoice again, get me invoice, and that should be true because we've done it earlier. And but who knows? They might hallucinate. They might tell you things that are not true. So we are going to get that invoice once again and just double check that that is true. Okay, so we see the amended tag there, and we see that the entry has gone, right? So the item has been removed, and also the total amount has been corrected. So all this seems really good. Now we got the. Let's look at the diagram. So I think it is the last one, right? So this is the execution of this event-driven process, right? So if we zoom in, we see that there's two steps because we had two bullet points. It says, okay, the first one, fix the invoice. It says done, right? And the second one, there's a sequence of steps, and it has said, okay, please award to this invoice promotion 2. But actually, 2 is not one of those. Again, it got an error. But it was smart enough to react and then find out which are the active promotions available. And of course, we had the 100, 101, and 1 and 2. The last one is buy one book, get one free. And we see that it did apply, that it passed that as a parameter, and therefore it has already done the right thing. Okay, so this is great. And well, this completes the demo for today and what I wanted to show to you. And with that, then I hand over to my colleague.
So I can promise you one thing. I'm never going to ask Bruno for a boring demo ever again. He has been hiding in his basement building this thing since probably a couple of weeks, but you kind of started to see how integration can change with the technologies we have at our disposal today. Like, none of this was made up. And I think one thing that we can't value high enough is the fact that these LLMs run on this MacBook. Like, literally, this is not even a large model being hosted somewhere in a cloud with endless GPUs. We're just talking macOS here. And this is already what's possible as we speak today. So just imagine how this can shape large enterprise processes and how this can actually change business cases around integration. None of this is hard-coded. That was driven by the LLMs. And this is pretty fancy, honestly. So if we're thinking about legacy, how could a path forward look like when we talk about integration? Obviously, it's always a good and wise and architecturally safe choice to think about hybrid solutions first. So take your legacy, bring it into a hybrid state. Think about the one agent. And if you know what you're doing, if you're controlling or at least have a decent environment with controlled models, with version models, with repeatable execution steps, then you can go all in into a fully AI-driven integration scenario. What we haven't shown you today is something that is called Vanaku. That is how it's pronounced. Vanaku is something that is well hidden in the open source right now, so you can find it if you look for it, or you do your homework, because I usually put like super teensy little links in the bottom of the slides. This is a blink at what is potentially coming, what you can already use today with regards to MCP. We've all heard tools, we've heard MCP, Model Context Protocol. This is a standardized way to do CORBA in modern times. So like back and forth between systems, interesting. This is definitely something that has the potential to become a new integration platform in the age of AI. So we'll just drop that here as a bump at the very end. Summary. Is this gonna be life-changing for you today? No. I hope we could show you what's possible today and even apply it to boring scenarios. This is definitely not something that is super eye-catchy and produces like meme-ready images, but it is still using enterprise integration as like the legacy technology and adding the flavor of modern things to it. With that said, I think you're well set if you're basing your decisions on existing, established, mature technologies, but it's always a good idea to keep your eyes and options open and think about how you can bring the new wave of technologies into your existing systems. I am almost speechless. We have the exact planned 5 minutes for Q&A at the very end. So that means I haven't talked too much, and I would actually open the show up. If you folks have any questions, Bruno, technical, and I'm like the talking guy. Yes, please.
Hiya. So I guess the bit I missed is the step where the LLMs or the AI is trained to understand the integration points that it's got, I guess logically on a back end, so that when you're interacting with it through the front end, it knows, oh, I can go and get this information through this integration point. Could you just kind of expand a bit on how those integration points end up in that LLM,
Yes.
I guess?
Yes. I don't know if, yeah, thank you very much. So that's what I think, if I get well, your question was basically how the LLM plugs in to those backend systems. Is that more or less? Right, so that's more or less what I was trying to explain. So let me just go quickly to this one. So the one where we had here the LLM calling these tools, right? Actually, just right when I finished, I forgot to show precisely that bit of definition. So if I go here, this is for that one that says get me the promotions. You see that this is the process definition that does precisely that, right? Camel knows how to offer this to the LLM. So when the LLM says, oh, I want to get the promotions, then the Camel hands over that request to this guy here. You see that it is leveraging LangChain for J, right? So this is the Java library for AI things, and basically it's going and kick off this query, right? So you see here that this is a select statement that is actually getting exactly the data that we saw on the data table, and then returns this. It marshals that because it's an object, but then we map that into a JSON body, and we give it to the LLM, and the LLM understands the JSON structure. And then with that, then it composes natural language response.
On the LLM side, this is basically a tool call. Like literally, we're registering the tool via LangChain for J, and another alternative would be MCP, right? And yes, we haven't shared the GitHub link, but we will make that available. And if you follow me on Twitter or somewhere nicer places, I promise to tweet it out later today. I should talk about DevRocks, the party tonight? Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, on your way out, guys, thank you for all your attention. Bruno, thank you so much, my Camel integration man. Please join us tonight for the DevRocks party, sponsored by Red Hat. We're proud to make you drunk. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Cut that out, okay? Yeah, grab your invite. Thank you so much.